Jinwoo was a streamer obsessed with a broken game. A game so difficult that almost anybody was playing anymore. He had to spend 11 years of his life studying the test tower to finally conquer it. It has been said that if anyone could make it, the game would become real. Jinwoo was thinking about how to get a job as streamer. He was 27 years old and he couldn't keep living with a $500 wage monthly. Nevertheless, some news alarmed the world. The test tower had appeared in real life. A state window was visible for all humans, and said that they should clear the first floor under the next 90 days or they would die. No other word was necessary. Jinwoo knew what he had to do. He had to level up, and the first thing he'd do is go and search for the mangrove of greed, a tree which its fruits grants extra stats points to the ones who consume them. The problem is that they only grow 4 fruits and there were a lot of people waiting. Plus there is this guy called Lee Jong-soo, a bastard who used to take advantage over the small streamers and he used to exploit them. He wanted to get close to Jinwoo and pretend to be a good friend. But Jinwoo makes clear that things have changed. While they were fighting, the others took advantage and took the 4 apples, and here gets revealed Jinwoo's true objective. It never was about the apples. He was trying to find a more valuable object, and the only way to find it was to defeating that monster. Everyone were gone. They knew that defeating it will be impossible. Some have died more than 50 times trying. Yet Jinwoo takes advantage of Lee Jong-soo's greed and convinces him to stay. He says that as long as they attack it together at the same time, they could defeat it easily. But when Jinwoo gave the signal to attack, he was betrayed. Nevertheless, that's exactly what he was waiting for, since the tree always attacks the ones who are further away. With this distraction, it was no problem for him to defeat the monster and finally got the tree orb, a broken object that raises his stat points by 12 with no level up needed. Currently, he was the strongest level 1 by being the first one to defeat 1 mangrove of greed. Jinwoo could enter the Hall of Fame, yet he decided to keep his identity hidden to avoid troubles. When the achievement appeared, everybody thought it was a matter of luck, but when they watched the video they felt chills for how good he was. And by the way, in case you didn't notice, Jinwoo activated anonymous mode so nobody could see his face or name. A lot comments from corporations on his former streaming channel offered him ridiculous amount of money, but Jinwoo doesn't want to sell his knowledge. Once the test towers appeared in the real world, museum relics become more valuable, because despite being just replicas, they granted important advantages on the first stages of this game, being the most coveted one, the Eastland Great Map, which grants the user all the necessary information to reach the 10th floor. A bunch of people were fighting for it, but the only important ones were this old guy who can burn alive his enemies and this girl that can summon the Tutankhamun statue. Everyone was scared to face this giant things, but Jinwoo didn't even bother to dodge them. She tries to intimidate him by summoning more statues. Yet that was nothing for Jinwoo, and he could leave her out of combat and she couldn't even notice it. But he wanted her to realize about the big canyon between them, so he showed her a different way to use the artifacts. Now that her knees were shaking, he asks her to hand over Tutankhamun's mask, with the way cleared to the chamber where all the most precious treasure were. The old man couldn't get into it because of a barrier, and he tells the old man that the only way to get in is to make an alliance. After all, he wasn't interested in the East map. The only thing he had to do was to point his fire magic constantly to the barrier, with the end of making it weaker. He must keep using his magic until everything was gathered. And seeing that he had no choice, the old man decides to trust him. All the relics were still inside but this sword. Jinwoo knew exactly who had grabbed it, and he was pretty sure about who was responsible for that barrier. Yet that wasn't the replica he was looking for. For him, that sword was just a second-class artifact. He was there just for 3 specific artifacts, relics that fits perfectly with each other, and once combined they allow the user to get this SS rank ability. The Eye of Truth, which allows to know who is lying, also grants the ability to see others' state windows. As reward for combining 3 rank B relics and creating a rank S or superior, he obtained the fusion ability that allows to copy and store many abilities that are in the world and even fusion them to create stronger ones. He already had the best ability of the game. Now he had to try it, and there was no better way than to try it against the powerful old man who was waiting for him outside. The only way to copy his fire powers was to make him reveal his true feelings he has been hiding under a mask. In other words, he had to make him angry. So the first thing he did was telling him that he never needed his fire powers to open the door. Everything was a tick to making him waste his mana, and now burns the East map before his eyes. He already knows the whole tower after all. The most important thing here is that the conditions were fulfilled. The old man was angry and ready to burn him alive. But Jinwoo knew flames were much more stronger. After everything Jinwoo did to him, he still wanted him as an ally. That's why, along with this girl, he gets them both under his service. The video about what happened in the museum didn't take long to go on air in the TV. Everybody wondered who that guy was and how he was so powerful. After the video, everybody is informed that the government made a decision to create a department with personnel specialized to face this new situation. The leader of this new association is Han Sangjing, who appeared on screen recruiting new people, specifically people who could find the person in that video. A blank check was offered as reward. It doesn't matter the amount. The government is willing to satisfy in change of the service. Yet, Jinwoo keeps his posture and he is not willing to sell his information. The waiting time had ended. Now players are free to enter the tower and clear the first floor. Likewise, 2 new functions were granted. The first one was the possibility to upload videos and win 100 coins for each 10.000 reproductions, and the second is the possibility to stream. Yet the latter can only be used when fighting against a boss to get to the next phase. If a player is caught using it inappropriately, they will be punished severely. Everybody ran desperately to the tower to clear as soon as possible the first floor. But Jinwoo had other plans, a maze that nobody else knew about. But what wasn't in his plans was that these 2 people would join in his adventure. They were following him for a while, and at first they were not sure about getting in the maze, but they thought that if a level 1 is not scared to get in is because it shouldn't be so difficult to clear. Nevertheless, they couldn't be more wrong. Not even 10 minutes passed and one of them was already dead. The only one that is worth to remember is the leader Park Hana. She is the only reason why Jinwoo spared their lives, because this girl has a very useful ability. It is called communion. This ability allows the user to gain the trust of others easily, and in order to get that ability he had to be with her for at least 240 hours. But after that time, nobody can be around them. After what happened, those bold-faced didn't care complaining about hiding information. But Jinwoo puts them in their place. He didn't ask them to follow him after all. The dangerous thing about that maze wasn't only its changing structure, but also the fearsome minotaur living there. Everyone were scared. But that minotaur was one of the main reasons why Jinwoo had entered that maze. Because once you manage to avoid one of its attacks, you gain a hidden skill called Rupture, which reduces the strength difference between its user and the most powerful enemy. Plus, every attack dodge levels up that ability. The others just looked amazed how Jinwoo was dealing with the beast as if it was just a toy. Their plan were to get into the maze, gain his trust, and once they got all the rewards, to murder him. But they didn't know that the person they wanted to kill was a monster. With that plan ruined, they tried to find a way to escape. But once you are in there is no other way to get out until you completed the maze. Going around with no clear destination was very dangerous, so they didn't have other choice but to beg him to let them join him. But they had to pay. They had to be in there for 30 days. Now that they had a lot of money, he turned around, go to the store and bought some objects that at a glance they seemed to be trash. But once you fusion them, you obtain a rank S artifact that increases your luck for 10 minutes. That's enough time for Jinwoo to use his booster scroll and his dagger. These scrolls are known by its low rate chances of success, but when your luck is to its maximum, the probability goes to 100%. So that's how Jinwoo became the first one creating an object plus 10 in the whole world. 10 days had passed since they entered the maze. These 2 were the only survivors of the group and they were tired. They were surviving with a little bonfire. They slept in a moss bed and the only thing they had to eat were those mushrooms and more moss. Not to mention that the maze changed all the time and the minotaur would visit them from time to time. At this rate they would end up dying. They didn't trust Jinwoo. They thought that once all that ended he would just get rid of them. So that's why they had to kill him. Park Hana had been cheating all this time. She had been using the streaming function to communicate with people outside. She told them to inform her brother what was happening so he could help her. But in order to get to them, it would take up to 3 weeks. The reason the minotaur can find them is because of Jinwoo. He attracts it with these moths. So if they kill him, the minotaur wouldn't return and they could hide until her brother rescue them. The problem was how to kill him. If they tried to kill him during sleep, probably his reflexes would wake him up. So they decide to poison him. Luckily, her brother gave her a perfect poison for that. What they didn't expect was that Jinwoo knew what they were planning, so he changed their plates. He also knew that they were streaming and he reported them. Everyone watching was suspended for a month and Park Hana was punished with a hard destiny for her. By that time, Jinwoo had fulfilled all the conditions. The girl was useless to him. So that's why when the minotaur came back, he didn't try to protect her. She gets mad and starts threatening him, saying that her brother was with the Bodies Guild and he wouldn't forgive him. But Jinwoo shows her his real strength, a strength that not even all the guilds combined could ever match. The minotaur finally uses its strongest ability, the Berserk, that considerably raises all its stats and even its intelligence. Jinwoo was waiting for this for a while now, because when the difficulty raises, it also raises the points he gets every time he dodges an attack. Jinwoo manages to survive the whole 5 minutes the effect lasts, so he got a lot of points and the minotaur gets paralyzed as a consequence of using the Berserk mode. This paralysis lasts for a whole day. That enough time for Jinwoo to rest and getting his health back up for the next round. His ability was on level 57, but his final goal was to raise it to level 100 during the next 20 days. Finally, the nightmare is gone. Jinwoo reached his long for level 100 and finally kills the Minotaur. Nevertheless, this was not enough reason to leave her alive. She tried to kill him after all, more than once in fact, so he asked for a reason to spare her life and join his new company. She wasn't interested in joining his company, but she definitely didn't want to die. She offered a lot of things that were useless for Jinwoo. The only thing he found interesting, and the reason he let her live, is that she offered Braham's ring, one of the best articles you can find in the first floor, and he embed her face with a soul stigma so she couldn't betray him, a contract that makes the other person obey every order given. For surviving the maze, they received 5,000 coins each, though Jinwoo took all of Park Hana's coins and he said goodbye, giving her only 3 days to deliver him the ring. They were together for a month inside that maze. He needed to catch up with everything that happened in the real life, and for that, nothing better than to get in touch with his old video game friends. The big man Timon Lee, the nuclear punch woman Yu Yan HWA. He has the ability of the Lord of the Perfect Machine for high-scale battles, and she has the Taekwondo ability, perfect for tanks and to throw explosive strikes. To copy these abilities, the only condition is that they reach the 20th floor. Lately, everyone that knew him were kind to him, but with double motive. But with them he felt comfortable, so that's how he found out about everything that happened during that month. The most important guild's movement on the world and the appearance of an evil group called Maine. Also, the government implemented an ability tests, which you can measure the Awaken's power with. Players with F rank or less can't get to the 2nd floor. On the other hand, everyone with a higher rank will be compensated with high ranks and big-time money. The same day Jinwoo went to take the test, Park Hana appeared. His bigger brother and high rank of the Raven Guild were show-off guys that wanted to get over everyone. But without knowing, they messed up with the wrong one. Park Hana's big brother wanted to put him in his place and Jinwoo wanted to copy his ability. And for his bad luck, one way to do it was by increasing his bad temper to the max. He starts by breaking his finger and then he humiliates him when he tries to attack Jinwoo until Kim steps in and says that it was enough. He apologizes for his bad temper, but that guy was still useful for him. Jinwoo knew why, and that is that Park Hana confessed to him that his brother were supplying Korean ginseng to China. Kim was surprised by that, but his face got worse when Jinwoo said that he knew the way to treat the ginseng side effect. Kim asks him to stop talking and summons a barrier so nobody could hear. Jinwoo offered an exchange, the solution to his problem, for 10 of his most profitable monopolized mazes. To make him believe, he tells him the ingredient needed to treat it, ingredients that matches with the guild's team investigation. This they already knew about. The problem was that they couldn't find one of the 3 ingredients, but Jinwoo says that he exactly knows where they can find it. Mr. Kim decides to trust for this one time, but warns him that if this is all a trick, he would not let this go through. But Jinwoo says that he was misinterpreting things. The one offering and giving a chance there was him. Their friends were just about to get into a fight with everyone, but Jinwoo gets out calming everyone and Mr. Kim punches Park Heejin to stop behaving like a dork. With that, his hate upscaled to the max and conditions were fulfilled to copy one of his abilities. Shallow breathing. To measure his strength he just had to hit this little crystal. He could use any ability, even weapons, but Jinwoo get directly to the biggest crystal. The one in charge of the test asks him to go to the lower crystal since this one didn't even move before normal people. Just imagine his face when he broke it in 2 pieces. The only thing he could do was to congratulate him for becoming a rank S, but before he could inform his superiors, he asked to postpone his calcification for a week. So for now he would be a rank F, thing the one in charge couldn't do. But under threat he couldn't refuse. He crosses with Park Hana Park at the exit, who was there to keep her promise. She expected him to remove her mark, but Jinwoo still had plans for her. Now that he had his rank F, he takes advantage of it to enroll as a gatekeeper of the expedition maze called the Depraved Room. Before starting this adventure, Jinwoo receives a reward for being one those who cleared the tower, an ability called Cold Heart and another one with a monopolistic name, which activates when receiving all the final rewards without sharing with anyone. If he fulfill that condition, he gets the best possible rewards from the random chests. Amongst the attack team, the presence of Ozian Guild catches Jinwoo's attention, a little elite group from Europe. Their presence there was very weird, so Jinwoo uses his ability to become friend with this girl who were Laurentina's family young daughter. Universal player type that uses the sacred power. She stand out for her attack, defense and even has a healing ability form the Holy Amsterdam. Teresa Laurentina. It was very weird for someone with such power to be there instead of being cleaning the 3rd floor. That's why Jinwoo peeked with his eye of truth and finds out that the girl was looking for a job, which explains everything. For Jinwoo this was a perfect opportunity. The Star Blessing was considered the best unique ability among the Sacred Knights, and now he had the opportunity to take it. The problem is that in order to obtain it is to saving her from a life or death situation. A situation very difficult to create, taking into account that she is one of the best 100 players in the world. At that moment the whole team were relaxed. They already cleared the first part of that maze and nothing would happen as long as they didn't bother the guards. And yes, just as you are guessing right now, someone had the great idea to wake them up. To face them with their current strength was almost a suicide. But the captain wasn't willing to give up, being this his first mission as captain. So confident about Santa Teresa's power, the Y charged against their enemies and 2 of their less powerful players died. Luckily, Santa Teresa herself was there to help them out. Some enemies managed to get through all the players and arrived where the gatekeepers were. They were severely injured, but Jinwoo managed to arrive in time to save this mister. The thing is that this Santa Teresa misunderstands the whole situation and she thinks that Jinwoo is there to kill that man, but he is also guilty of waking up the guardian. And that's how the first part of this manhwa ends. Well guys, if you like this video and want a part 2, comment below with the word level. Also subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Give a like, and the most important thing is to leave a comment. That's all for today. Bye.